Now, this video is a very special video in the fact that it's going to involve only talking about my life as a person. It's going to be super real because it doesn't have to do with, I guess, my persona of the channel, Thehunter DD33. This is more about who I am, where I've been, and how far I've came throughout the journey of life. Okay, so it may sound like I'm boasting a little bit, but I want to reassure you, this has nothing to do with me boasting. I absolutely want to tell you the truth to the realest point possible. And I don't think that you should ever think that you're better than anybody. I've never thought that, and I think that's the worst possible outcome to have, or the worst possible way to look at life, to think that you're better than somebody else. You can be confident, you can be super competitive, and be the best version of you, but that doesn't make you any better than anybody else. So let's get this straight from the point. So we're gonna go way back in time. I'm talking 15 years ago. I was somewhere around 19 or 20 years old. Anyways, I was working as an electrician, working for 40 hours a week, making $8 an hour, crawling through attics when it's 90 degrees out. Super humid in Wisconsin. So I'm doing that and I couldn't quite make enough money to make ends meet. So I got a part-time job working at the mall, working for Abercrombie and Fitch. I started folding clothes for this company. And a couple weeks go by, then I end up meeting somebody who referred me to go to Los Angeles and connect with a modeling agency in Los Angeles, California. It was a model scout who had connections with one of the top agencies in LA, California at the time. And we're gonna start with the story right there. Let's just say I was very genetically blessed. I'm 6'5" and I usually weigh around 225 pounds. Right now I'm probably 210 or 215, which I'm down a little bit, but I stand out a lot pretty much everywhere I go, so I get a lot of attention, but it hasn't always been that way. Honestly, I remember when I was in middle school and even high school, I was tall and really skinny. I also had a lot of difficult troubles pronouncing certain words and enunciating. I remember I took speech therapy class and there was just so many things that I couldn't do. So I was kind of embarrassed to speak in front of class. I was embarrassed to try and talk to girls. I was embarrassed to just like do many things, you know. My self-esteem was at an all-time low. I literally did not like being my height. I felt like I stood out, but not in a good way. And so I was always an easy target to get picked on. You know, I would get like punched in the arm sometimes, or Charlie horses, or like wet willies, all kinds of stuff that you don't want to imagine. If you don't know what it is, you don't want to think about it. But anyways, the worst part was getting completely ignored by every single girl in my school. Like literally, I had to date a girl from a different school because no girls would talk to me at my school. But then, fast forward time, a few years later, and things change quite a bit. For instance, one of the girls that I went to high school with, her locker was right next to mine. Well, she completely ignored me in high school. But then 2 years later, all of a sudden we're hanging out. People can change. That's why you always want to treat people the way that you want to be treated, because you never know one day if they're going to be your friend or even your boss. So during this time, I put on about 35 pounds of muscle. So I went from 6'5", 185 pounds to 235 pounds. And during that transition, that is when everything changed. That's also when I got scouted, and that's one of the reasons why I went to LA in the first place. If you want to know more about what happened in my past, there's another video called My Life, DD33 My Life. And that will tell you exactly what happened, but it has a lot to do with like bullying and whatnot and overcoming that. And it's pretty real, to be honest, because one of the guys that would pick on me a lot. Well, let's just say when I was 21, and even though he was strong, he was like 5'10", 185 pounds, which is pretty strong. Don't get me wrong. You know, he was the captain of the football team, worked out all the time, got all the girls. But when someone who's bigger than you and stronger than you, it's hard to do that. It's hard to beat that. You literally can't beat that. And so let's just say he found out that he wasn't all that anymore really quickly in front of all of his friends and all of my friends. And he became the hermit. He became the hermit like in Zoolander 2, where he moved out in the middle of nowhere and nobody heard from him for like 5 years. But that doesn't mean that I'm arrogant about it or that I feel like I deserve more than others. You know, I feel worthy just as much as someone else does. Now, I apologize as far as if this video goes all over the place. I'm absolutely horrible at telling stories, talking to a camera. In person, I can tell pretty good stories starting from the beginning all the way to the end, because usually I'll just like skip a bunch of steps and get to the point. But I feel like if I'm talking on a video, I just need to go in detail all the way back from the beginning. But then the problem is I start going forward and then I realize I miss a part. So then I have to go back, try and catch up, and then I forget where I was. So it's a little bit confusing and I don't remember if I said something or not. So sometimes it might jump all over the place. And I apologize about that, but that's not what this video is about. What it's about is being real and giving you a real life update on what actually has happened in my life, where I've been, and how I got to where I am right now today. So with that being said, let me get into this. We're about to get really, really deep. Never once, even though I was modeling and acting in California, I never once treated somebody that was not as popular or whatever as I was less than me. Like, I never thought that I was better than anyone else. I was fortunate, I was grateful, I was proud, and also very humble growing up in the country on a farm. But the thing is, a lot of times when you meet people, they immediately judge you and think that, oh, you're just like everyone else because you look like this. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've literally gone and met people out in public, girls specifically, and they're like, oh no, I can't talk to you. Like, what? Oh, because you remind me of my ex and he looked like you. Like, well, okay. Yeah, and also, you just look like you would cheat. And that's my problem? Because no, I'm actually one of the most loyal people that you could ever imagine. I've had 4 different relationships. And I've been cheated on by 2 girls. 15 years ago, I was in California and my girlfriend was with me for 6.5 years. We'd been together for a good while and we had some pretty amazing times together. I remember we met and I was, I think, 23. She was about 29. She was a little older than me, but she was a lot of fun. We had so many similarities and we just would always hang out together. So when we first hit it off, I was super, super grateful to be with her. And things were a little bit different, but I really enjoyed the times that we had together. But then it came to a point where I had to make a sacrifice. I had to make a choice. It was either stay with her and be happy temporarily, or split up so that I could potentially have a chance to have a family on my own where the girl that I be with will one day want to have kids. Because my girlfriend at the time didn't want any more. She already had one and she didn't want any more. I had to live with knowing that for the rest of my life, I was never going to have kids. I finally had become financially successful or independent enough to be able to afford that. You know, kids are not something that you can just, anybody can pop them out and afford them like nothing. It's expensive for sure. And though you could have children without having any money, possibly, yeah, you could, of course, but I want to at least give them a decent life, just a decent one. And so if you need to, you want to be able to fully afford every function that you need in their life. I mean, you could, but it's not going to be as pleasant as it should be for the child and for you, you know? That's the way that I was raised. We always had enough, and we never had to worry about being able to buy anything. We worked hard and we bought whatever we needed. And it's still that way to this day. We literally only buy stuff if we need it. Even my crossbow. I needed that crossbow. I really needed that crossbow. Because a lot of the spots that I hunt, they're 40+ yard shots. And I can shoot that far, but it's not ideal with the compound bow. You know what I mean? Because you got to pull back. You got to get them to stop in that zone at 40 yards. By the time you come to full draw, it's like they could easily bust you, or they might not even be in the opening at that point. Versus with a crossbow, you're already at full draw. You get them to stop, and wherever they're stopped, you just hold the crosshair right on whatever yardage it is, and that's it. You don't have to try and pull back, worry about anything else. You just center them, squeeze the trigger, line it up, and you got a smoke buck. So don't have a clue where I was going with that story, but like I said, I'm not the greatest at telling stories. I'm really good at talking in person, but it's just super difficult, and I can't even explain it to you. But it's something about, I feed off of people's energy. So when I'm talking to a camera, I can't feel whether or not they're acknowledged by my story, or if I should just stop talking or what. A lot of times, you know, you feel that way. And I'm kind of the same way. When someone's telling me something that I really don't care about, it's just like, yeah, whatever. I'll still listen. But for some reason, they can't tell that I don't really want to hear what they're talking about. But the difference is, when I'm talking to someone and I can sense that they don't want me to talk to them, then I'll kind of like pull back, like, fine, I don't need to tell you. I'll tell someone that actually is interested, you know? So that's just the way that I am, though. I don't know if other people are like that or not, but yeah, that's a little bit about what I was talking about. Which, again, I have no clue where we were going with that conversation, but I think it was good. So we'll go with it. And in case you're wondering why I'm wearing a tank top right now, I just got done playing open gym basketball with a bunch of kids here. Well, not really kids. They're all 25 to 30 years old. So they were pretty tough and had a lot more energy than me. Yeah, let's just say it's a good thing I'm 6'5", because they were driving to the hoop and they thought they were going to score, but most of the time they didn't. Nope. It was kind of funny though, because I was covering this girl and she's known for shooting threes. But here's the thing. Nobody covers her. She shoots threes and they let her shoot threes. But then tonight, I'm playing against her and my teammate was like, who do you want? And I saw that I was playing against her. So I said, oh, I'm taking her. She freaks out and she's like, huh? No way. And I said, why? I can't cover you? Well, how's that going to be fair? So it's going to be fair? You're just going to rain threes against someone that's not going to cover you good on my team? No. Guess what? She didn't score one single three-pointer against me. Every time she was about ready to shoot, I jumped up as high as I could and she was just like arcing it up. Maybe 2 out of the 3 times she hit the rim. Equality. You know what I mean? Like, so what, I'm not supposed to cover you and just let you rain threes on me? Not happening. You're out here playing basketball with the big boys. You're a girl. You want to play basketball with us? Play by the same rules. That's just kind of how it is. I don't know. Or I guess if you're on my team, but not only that, even if she is on my team, she doesn't even pass me the ball. So it's like, I don't feel bad if I'm going to stuff you and make you not make any points. I just don't. 15 years ago, I was in California and I was doing some acting and modeling out there. Then I met my girlfriend. We were together for almost 6 years and I just really couldn't afford that much at the time. I started doing YouTube, and at that point, everything kind of just skyrocketed into the future. It was amazing. I was doing construction work, I was acting, and I was doing YouTube all at the same time. But then I wanted to start a family, and that is when everything kind of started spiraling downwards. My girlfriend at the time did not want to have a family. She already did have one kid, to be perfectly honest, but that's besides the point. So I had to make a decision after being with her for 7 years, whether or not I wanted to stay with her for the rest of my life and never have children, or sacrifice our love for the potentially possibility of me being able to love my own family and creating an own family in the future. That's where everything all starts. So after that, I of course came to the decision that I couldn't live without knowing I would never have kids, and especially the fact that I know I'm fully capable of being able to have them, then there's no way I'm going to sacrifice my whole life knowing that I'm not going to have a kid. So I got in touch with a person who I met 3 or 4 years prior to my girlfriend at the time. And I met this girl in California as well. Well, it just so happened that she was living in Texas, and I really wanted to go back to Texas in order to get some big gar with my bow fishing setup. So that was my plan. Well, not necessarily. It was more so I really wanted to get out of the city and get back in touch with more nature and potentially this girl. But also, I really wanted to recreate an epic moment that I had when I was 19 years old bow fishing for alligator gar in Texas. I shot a 7-foot 6-inch long 190-pound gator gar in Choke Canyon Lake, Corpus Christi, Texas. Shot with my Hoikatera 70-pound compound bow, and I went through 6 different arrows trying to get the thing. So it was an unbelievable moment, but the only thing is I didn't have my video camera on me that same day, so I didn't get anything on camera. Not that the quality would have been great, because it would have been like 15 years ago anyways, but it still would have been cool. So now that I have a YouTube channel, I really wanted to record that and put it up on my channel, but that was the goal. So I get to Texas, I buy a boat, everything is awesome, and I go out there, no sign of any gator gar whatsoever. I mean, you would see them rolling probably 100 yards away, sometimes a little bit closer, but as far as visibility in the water, you would never even see one single gator gar at all. Not even carp, nothing. It was just like you could see, and I was out there 8-10 hours a day for I think I went like 15 times. Had to drive 3.5 hours to get there. Didn't get anything. So we'll skip past that part. And next, the girl that I wanted to see while I was living there, she decided that I wasn't cool enough to talk to anymore because I had changed and I wasn't acting and modeling anymore. So I wasn't as in, if you want to call it that. I don't know. But anyways, she wanted nothing to do with me, and well, she did. She still wanted to be friends, and we would hang out, but it never went anywhere past that point. And then I just recently discovered that I probably should stop talking to her as consistently as I was. You know, I was trying to be really kind and I guess incentive towards trying to pick out new activities and really insightful for the future, but that was not helping. So then I decided that I should probably back off, and we just kind of eventually I just stopped talking to her, period. So at that point I'd only focused on bow fishing, doing YouTube, and also construction work on the side, plus hunting and fishing, which is kind of correlated with doing YouTube. But I'd really wanted to start something new, you know, because I'd been in a city for so long that I know a lot of people out there, and I was there for almost 10 years in California, and I've met some pretty cool people. Like, for instance, my ex-girlfriend in California, her best friend and boss at the time married Jeff Goldblum. My first job when I was in California was bartending for Tony Hawk. literally, that was the first job that I did, bartending there. I was 22 years old, and I was bartending at Tony Hawk's birthday. He showed me his skate park in his backyard, and he even showed me a picture on his wall with him doing some kickflip and holding his probably like 2 or 3 year old baby in the air. It was an absolutely insane picture, but super cool. I met Vince Vaughn, Joaquin Phoenix, like Neil Patrick Harris, Jason Segel. I've met, you know, some really cool people that I would call them cool because they were respectful to me in person. I have met some people that are not respectful. The small person that's in Game of Thrones. This dude absolutely did not want to say hi, acknowledge me, shake my hand, or anything. I was working at the what was it? Probably like the 2016 or 2015 the Emmys, and I was in charge of the security at the front office part. And I see him walking up, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm a big fan." And he was like, "Please don't touch me." Let's just say I didn't act like in a creepy way. It was just like, you know, "Hey, I appreciate your work. You know, I'm a big fan," and very calm and collective. And yeah, he didn't like that too much. So those are the kind of people that I would not really inspire to be like. Let's just say that. I forgot where I was going with this. Man, I am so bad at telling stories. The problem is my memory is really good long term, but short term, it's just not quite as good. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't very good in acting, because it's super difficult to try to remember the whole entire script. And you can't just be yourself. You have to literally remember line for line in a script, and you have to remember the pauses. And actually, since this is all about being real, 100% truthful and honest, why don't we go back in time and watch me do an acting scene from a class that I was doing at the time, which was based off The Social Network. It's kind of the Facebook movie. But anyways, this is me reenacting part of the scene from my acting class at Cardinal Moon Acting Studio in Los Angeles, California. It was a pretty good class, and it helped me come a long ways. Not only as an actor, but also as a person.
How's Chris? Christy's crazy. Is that fun? No, I mean, she's actually psychotic. She's insanely jealous, she's irrational, and I'm frightened of her. Still, it's nice you have a girlfriend. I do not want that guy representing himself as part of this company. You gotta move out here, Wardo. This is where it's all happening. Did you hear what I just said? The connections. The energy. Mark! I'm afraid if you don't move out here, you're gonna get left behind.
Oh, let's just go back to Texas. So, I moved to this small town called Sugarland, Texas, and I don't live there anymore, so I don't really care, but the people there are so crappy and so mean that it's just repulsive. It's absolutely disgusting at how these people are there. I literally moved there, and I don't know if it's because I'm not from there, but if anybody came to my town now I live in Wisconsin, but if anyone came here and they're at the gym that I go to or whatever, I'm gonna be polite to them and treat them just like everyone else, right? But in Sugarland, Texas, they think that they're above you, and they're totally disrespectful, rude, arrogant, and just a straight up prick. So the gym that I went to, people are like this a lot. And for those of you that didn't know, 3 years ago, I had a really bad accident, and I had a inguinal hernia. So I couldn't work out for an entire year. I lost almost 30 pounds of weight, which is all muscle, since I have a very high metabolism. So if I gain any weight at all, it's only going to be muscle. So if I lose weight, that's a bad thing. Like right now, I'm down 10 pounds from where I really ideally should be. I mean, I'm fine. I'm 215 right now, but typically I'm 225, 235. And, but that's 6%, 7% body fat. And I really should be more around 8 to 9%. is more comfortable for me. But yeah, when I started going to the gym, people were very disrespectful. Like, they wouldn't even hold the door open for you, just let it slam in your face. You want to talk about talking to a girl? Oh, bad idea. Absolutely bad idea. I remember I got absolutely rejected by tons of girls. But the thing is, I wasn't even specifically asking for their number. I was just trying to start a conversation. But they simply just say like, oh, sorry, I'm busy. And then they just totally blow you off, right? Well, that's what happened when I first moved there. And I was 195 pounds, maybe 185, I don't remember exactly. But I was definitely down like 20, 30 pounds more than, or I mean, less than what I usually am. So I noticed that I had no respect anywhere I went, and women just were super, super rude and just, oh, so bad to you. So at that point, because I already stopped talking to the girl that I kind of wanted to talk to when I moved there. At that point, what ended up happening was I was like, you know what? I'm not talking to anybody anymore, except for pretty much you guys on YouTube. I didn't even hardly stream anymore at that point, and go to the gym. And that's it. Like, strictly just go to the gym. Don't talk to any girls, and just focus on just being the best version that I can be. So I went to the gym for 6 months straight. Ate as much food as I could. Had a whole freezer full of venison from the mule deer hunt that I just went on. We went on wild boar hunts, so I had tons of food from that. And it was literally just like eat, sleep, work out, work, hunt, fish, and then that's it. Just completely keep recycling that whole cycle over and over and over. Well, 6 months went by and I put on about 25 pounds of muscle. And I remember I was still going to the same exact gym, and people that were really rude to me before, all of a sudden were coming across the whole gym to talk to me and be like, dang, how do you get so ripped and everything? And like, what do you mean? Why are you trying to talk to me now? Now you're trying to be cool? But the thing is, you shouldn't treat someone different just because of the way that they look. That's pretty weird. That's pretty messed up. You know, it depends. What you should treat them on is based on what their intention is. If they're trying to be like really rude to you, then you should maybe be rude back to them. I understand that. But if they're just being a genuine human being, treat them like a human being. That's all I'm saying about that. And another thing about this is I notice every single time I talk to a girl after that point, it was almost an immediately happy response. You know, there wasn't any, oh, I have a boyfriend. It's, oh, well, sometimes they would even ask me if I had my phone on me. Like, they would even ask me what my phone number was. And then I would tell them, yeah, sure, I'll put my phone number in your phone, and they would call me sometimes. But not all the time. But anyways, just the respect and the dignity that you would receive from that, it was drastic differences. And that's Sugarland, Texas. So there's that. Then I decided to move to Houston because I'd already been sick of living in a place where I was considered an outsider and nobody really wanted me there and respected me. Even though eventually I finally did get some respect. And it just felt like people were so fake there. You couldn't really be yourself, you know? You only like me because I'm bigger than everybody now? Like, get out of here. So I moved to the good city of Houston. And I figured there'd be maybe a little bit more openness there, where people would be accepting of someone who's not exactly from there. And oh, I was right. It was definitely a little bit more accepting. A lot more accepting. So I ended up living there for about 2 or 3 years. But then I ran into something that I really wasn't expecting. And that is, I really wasn't into the whole like hookup culture. So every single time I would meet a girl and hang out with them, you know, talk to them, start to think about them. She just wanted to mainly hook up. And then after that, it was like nothing. And it's weird because I had not had that intention on my mind whatsoever. I'd always been very blatant about as far as exactly what I want, and I'm looking for something more serious because I've only ever been in relationships. Even if I did have a 1 or 2 time hookup, it wasn't the intent of, oh, I just want to hook up. I'd never had that intent before. It may have happened, but that was not on me. So I'm living in Houston, Texas, and though it's a lot of fun, there's tons of action, lots of different things to do. The people there just don't really have the greatest intentions. Every single person is more of just like a farewell friends, if you will. Like, if the fish are biting really, really good, they'll be there. But if you just want to go fishing with them and see if maybe you can find some good spots, they're more of a, maybe I'll come, maybe I won't, and then they probably will just never call you. So that's how I would describe a lot of the people in Houston, Texas. And especially the females. Boy, if you want to try and set up a date with them, it's like pulling teeth. You literally have to almost draw it out and give it to them on a platter in order for them to understand that you just want to be able to give them a chance and potentially see that if there's something in the future or not. Because if you don't, then they just will respond in the most strangest way. For instance, I met this one girl, see, there I go. Now I'm going way out of story, way out of context, and I'm completely, I forgot where I was going with this, but from 1 year ago today, I met this girl in Houston, Texas. I lived in Houston, Texas for 3 years, but I met her in this bar that I was playing pool at, and she was cool. We talked for hours. Before I know it, she was like, oh, you should take my number. So I get her number and we start texting, and of course I try and say, whoa, it'd be cool to get a coffee with you. Do you think she responded? Nope, absolutely not. Not at all. But then fast forward time, 1 year later, I'm at this bar. I think it was the same bar. Yeah, I'm at the same bar again playing pool. And I see this girl. She's like super cute, but kind of familiar, but not quite. But the way that she looked at me, she never saw me before. And so every time I kept looking back at her like I knew her, she didn't recognize that I knew her. So then I figured, it's got to be a different girl. Well, long story short, we're talking again for another couple hours, and before I know it, oh, you should put my number in your phone. Go to put her number in my phone. And guess what? Somehow my phone's so smart that it already has your number in it. She says, so I play it off, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know how that happened. She said, well, apparently I met you before. Do you remember? And I was like, no, not at all. No. But whether or not she believed me, I don't really know if that's true or not. But the reality of the situation is, shortly after that, she's literally texting me. But here's the thing. I didn't text her. I didn't try and say, like, set up a date. She started texting me. And she was like, so what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, I don't know. Oh, well, I'll just let it be this time and see what happens. Whatever, I have no interest. I'm super busy focusing on working and going to the gym and everything that's, more important than her. And before I know it, she says, oh, well, what are you doing tonight? And I said, no plans really. Why? Do you want to do something? But I let her text me. And then she says, oh, I'm working. So I said, oh, okay, cool. 10 minutes later, she says, ... But I could come over after, maybe. What? What? Come on. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. That's the reality of the situation of the women in Houston, Texas. But then I got another one for you. There's another really good one. This one will pretty much blow your mind out of the water. Like, it's weird because I wasn't really that shocked at the time. But then when I heard it, it was total confirmation. Something that you just didn't expect to hear. Well, I heard one. I definitely heard one. So I met this girl on this dating app. We go out on this date. We go to this little tropical tiki bar kind of thing. And we're talking for a little while, and we have a lot in common. She's been out to LA before and whatnot, and she also likes outdoor stuff, like fishing. Not really hunting, but more so like fishing and just being in nature, driving around four-wheelers and going fast, stuff like that. So before I know it, I think things are going amazing, right? And she tells me that she's hanging out with Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx, the actor. So I was just thinking, this random girl, she's not famous or anything, is somehow hanging out with Jamie Foxx at the same time I'm talking to her. She tells me that she's looking for something more serious. We then ended up kissing. But she's hanging out with Jamie Foxx. How is that looking for something serious? And she's 22 years old. Well, it makes sense why it's so difficult to find a good girl to date nowadays, because a lot of them are after one thing. And that's the highest status possible. You really can't compete with that. Now, this next part I'm about to tell you is also a little bit wild as well. And that is, it'd been about a year since I last talked to the girl that I wanted to be with when I moved out there. The one that she said I wasn't cool enough to talk to anymore because I wasn't high enough status anymore. Well, then all of a sudden 1 year passed, and randomly I'm out bow fishing in the middle of Texas. Well, Choke Canyon Lake to be specific. And I'm hanging out with this one girl who I just met and started talking to. I didn't really know what her intentions were, but you know, I told her I had a boat and she was like, "Oh, take me out on the boat." So, and before I know it, this girl who I'd originally moved out there to talk to while I was there, she randomly starts texting me while I'm out on the boat with this other girl. I don't know how, but somehow the universe said that she was supposed to randomly reconnect with me while I'm out in the middle of the boat fishing in Texas. And usually when she would text me, if I would text her back, it would take like 3-4 hours for her to text me back. But in this circumstance, I figured, well, I'll just text her back right away and see what happens. So I was just like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And then boom, within like 2 seconds, she texts me back. I thought, wow. And coincidentally, it was about to be my birthday, so somehow she remembered it was my birthday, and she was like, "Oh, wait, isn't it your birthday this weekend?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she says, "Oh, well, you know, it'd be cool to see you." And I said, "Yeah, it'd be cool to see you too." So at that point, then I suggested, well, maybe we could get sushi for, you know, my birthday. And then she was like, "Cool, let's do that." So we ended up planning this date. I go to meet her for sushi, and immediately her actions and her presence is way more happy to see me. And I didn't understand why. But as soon as I sit down, she's all smiley and giddy and like blushing and stuff. And I was like, what is this? So then she says, there's something different about you. And I said, what? What do you mean? And she was like, well, I don't know, but it's just different. And I said, well, I did put on like 25 pounds of muscle. And, you know, I'm working a lot, doing a lot of things now, but nothing really changed that drastically. I'm still the same person. It's like, oh, well, I don't know what it is, but, and I was like, well, is it a good thing? And she was like, yeah, I like it. So during that lunch date, she started telling me about this kind of like a small cruise, but like a tiki bar boat cruise where you pay to float around the lake in this little tiki bar, which is on a boat. And yeah, you pay by the hour. So it's really hot in Texas. And I thought, oh, that would be fun. So I kind of mentioned it to her, and then she was like, oh yeah, that would be a great idea. And I thought, there's no way all of a sudden she wants to hang out with me now. So we started dating right after that. Before I know it, she's my girlfriend. That is until I realized that she had a major problem with consuming a certain amount of drinks. I thought it'd get better as time went on, but oh, was I wrong. Wrong was I ever. It just kept getting worse and worse. And so bad that I couldn't even take it anymore. And I didn't know that she was like that. I really didn't. I mean, I knew that, you know, she could have like 1 or 2 drinks. And I can too. But I'm talking like 5, 6, sometimes 7, like just nonstop. You claim you want to be a good nurturing person. We'd already talked about like having a family and stuff in the future. But she's not exactly in the right state of mind. I don't know what you would call it, but she's a completely opposite person from what she says she wants to be. And another thing, she does have a dog, which is a Chihuahua. And every time I would come over, the thing never had any food, so I would always have to feed it food. And I would just think, I don't really see you being a good mom. So eventually we kind of got in some arguments, and then it was just, I knew I needed to be away from her. So we ended up breaking up, and I was off on my own. Everything was good, except for the fact that I wasted some time with this girl who I thought I saw potential with in the future, but I was wrong. So again, I go back to focusing on myself and trying to be, you know, more content with just being by myself a lot more often. And it was tough because I really loved her. Like, she was an awesome person. And we have so many memories from back in California. But people change, and apparently she did too. And not for the better. So I was single for another 1.5 years. And I said to myself, at this point, from this point on, I'm never talking to another girl that I don't see something long-term potential with. As in, if I see any red flags, I'm gonna stop talking to her. Finally, time went by, and one of my friends who was an esthetician, this girl, she was actually in class with this other girl, and they became friends. Somehow I got brought up. She shows this girl my picture, and she said, well, I'm gonna set you guys up on a double date. So I said, yeah, that's awesome, sure. We had a lot in common. Her whole family loves to hunt and fish. They had a ranch in Texas. It was pretty amazing. And I thought, there's no way. And she's drop dead gorgeous. She was 5'10", also, which is a plus since I'm 6'5". We started hanging out, hit it off immediately. So we had a lot of fun, and before I knew it, we were hanging out like every single night. And then next thing you know, I noticed the texts kind of just slowly stopped coming in. Like, I still had the energy of I wanted something more, And she had the energy of, okay, this is fun, but I think I want someone who's a little higher up with status and whatnot. And because I told her I only had long-term intentions, like 100%. You know, I told her, we talked about like being in Wisconsin together and serious stuff. And she wasn't about that. Before you know it, she kind of just stopped texting me, period. And that was it. And that one hurt really, really bad. Because we'd talked for about a month and a half. We'd hung out almost every single day during that time. Talked on the phone when we didn't hang out, and that one was tough. Really, really tough. Because once you get to the point of you feel like you've known someone for your whole life and you feel like you connect with them a certain way, then they make you feel special, you make them feel special, they respond a certain way, they tell you they like you, and then they just cut you off like you weren't even there, you don't even matter, you didn't exist. That's really tough. And at that time, that's when I went through a spiral of going downhill and didn't want to stream, didn't want to hardly make any videos anymore. It was tough on myself, super, super tough. I remember just laying in bed for hours, like half the day, just completely burnt because I didn't even want to get up out of bed. There was no motivation, no purpose. It was just, I mean, I had you guys always. I love seeing your reactions and feeling, you know, like I can inspire you to do good things and be happy in life and stuff. But I thought, if I can't even be happy myself, then how am I going to help inspire you guys? That was a really, really tough one. And it took a long time to get past that point. And then I went through the phase of just like being completely dependent on myself only. And no matter what, if a girl thought she had good intentions or not, I never trusted them. And I always just one-up them, no matter what. Like, it's just, I thought every single girl was exactly the same. And, you know, what it is, it's like a protection mode. You kind of put up this wall where never again am I going to be genuine to a girl in person. Not like I would be rude or mean to them, but not polite, which deep down, that's who I am. I'm a polite person. I grew up with really strong morals and manners and everything like that. And respect goes a long ways where I'm from. So at that point, that's when I realized I just need to do what matters the most, and that is be with the people that I love, my closest family. So I decided to come to Wisconsin. All my family's here. We hunt, fish, live off the land that I grew up on, my great grandpa grew up on, his grandpa grew up on. And I realized that you do have to be content with being on your own, and life is an amazing thing. You shouldn't ever think that you don't deserve happiness, because you do. You can't necessarily, like, just because you want something doesn't mean that you're gonna get it, no matter how hard you work for it and try to get it. Certain things aren't controllable like that. Things that you can control, like your job, income, status, health, and things like that, those you should always try and work your best on to get the best results. But some things, like for example, me wanting to have a future girlfriend and potential family in the future, no matter how much I wanted that, I can't project that out into the world because it doesn't work that way. What happens is, it's like when you're fishing. You're fishing in a really good hole and there's some giant beautiful fish down there. But the odds of getting all the way down to that one big fish that you want the most is super unlikely, because all the little ones are going to come up and eat that thing before it gets a chance to get there. So you just have to have good intentions and good thoughts in your mind. And when the right moment happens, it just unveils like it was meant to be. So yeah, in conclusion, that's a bit of an update. Also, since I was hurt 3 years ago, I'm 100% healthy now. I'd gained back 30 pounds of weight, so really healthy muscle, and I haven't worked out in about a month, so that's why I'm a little bit skinnier than usual, but other than that, yeah, I'm in tip-top shape. I'm very thankful for the Lord and helping me get through all of this in my life. Very, very grateful for that, and that's super important too. Another thing is, if you're actually Christian, be Christian and have good morals. Don't be a fake Christian. Don't tell people you are. Don't wear the cross, don't represent God, and then do things that he would totally resent you for. Like, don't be that person. Be a good person. That's what God wants. Be the best version of yourself and inspire others to be the same. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, that's pretty in-depth with as far as we're going to get to today. I feel like I still missed some chunks, but that's going to be it for now. Maybe I'll add some in that I'll think about along the way, and I'll cut into some of these edits. But for now, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're having a fantastic new year and a great start to 2025. Everybody be super grateful and blessed for everything that they have. Okay, so now this is kind of the short story version of this, and for the people who don't appreciate the long story, like all drawn out. But anyways, so let's get to the point. So basically, in recap, I moved to Los Angeles when I was 21 years old, lived with my girlfriend for 6 years, wanted to have a family with her, but she didn't want to have a family. I decided that I didn't want to live knowing I'm never going to have kids, so I decided to move to Texas and be at the one place that I really enjoyed when I was 19 years old and bowfished a 200-pound alligator gar. I also was pursuing this girl that I met in California 5 years ago who also lived in Texas. So meanwhile, my hopes were that I could enjoy being in Texas and also reconnect with this girl who I dated in the past. That didn't work out, so I ended up being kind of on my own, focusing on working, going to the gym, hunting and fishing. And that's all I did solely for the next 6 months. And then all of a sudden, the girl that I moved there to kind of talk to in the beginning wanted to reconnect with me. We started dating for 3 months. Turned out that she was a little bit too wild and crazy for me. She couldn't consume certain drinks the way that I would respect them to drink. And I didn't want that. She wanted to be a mom, and she talked about it. We talked about it for a long time, like in person through, I think it was like Facebook or something. But anyways, then after that, I stayed in Texas for 2.5 years just to try and like see how I liked it. Realized I didn't like it and wanted to be back home with my family. And in conclusion, family is more important than being on your own and having fun experiences and just living it up. It's really way more cool to be with your family long term. And now I'm with my family. Yeah. Hopefully someday I get lucky enough to find a good, genuine person that, you know, really wants to be with me for me, not what I look like. That's my hopes. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you found it insightful. I don't really know what else you would call it. But more so, hopefully now you understand a better version of who I really am as a person in real life. So that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, and happy 2025 to everyone out there. Let's make this the best year of all time. I think we can do it.